the UK votes to leave the European Union.
Ce coup de tonnerre en Europe.
La livre sterling connaît sa chute la plus vertigineuse depuis 1985. On attend.
It was the subject that had dominated the politics of the then ruling Conservative Party for decades, pitting supposed long-term political colleagues against each other and splitting as well public opinion across the UK in two. So, 10 years ago, the then Prime Minister, David Cameron, a pro-European himself, decided enough was enough, and he would allow the country to settle the UK's place within Europe in an extremely rare referendum. He thought that he and those behind him would easily convince people that the idea of Brexit, in many ways cutting the UK off from mainland Europe, was a terrible idea, notably economically.
Whenever we turn our back on Europe, sooner or later we come to regret it.
As the referendum came closer and closer, though, the result was on a knife edge, with polls showing mostly small majorities in favour of staying. But in the end, the vote actually went the other way, destroying the credibility of Cameron, who immediately resigned. It was hardly any landslide, with under 52% in favour, including almost all of England and Wales, except London. Scotland and Northern Ireland voted against. So 10 years on from the vote, has Brexit worked for the UK? Well, we've been to Boston in the central eastern part of England, where 75%, more than anywhere else, voted for Brexit, and to London, where 60% voted to stay, to gauge just that. Clovis Casali and Aurore Dupuy revisit Brexit for France 24.
The town of Boston in Lincolnshire has become a symbol of Brexit. A record 3/4 of voters chose to leave the European Union. Former Mayor Anton Danny was one of them. 10 years on, he shares the frustration of many of his local friends.
When you think about all the promises made during Brexit, how does that make you feel about politicians and about all of that?
The way I've always felt about them. They're in it. Let's face it, everybody's in it for themselves. A lot of people voted for Brexit knowing full well that half the stuff we were being sold was a lie, but in the hope that we would take back control.
Yes, but we didn't, and it's still going on.
They supported Brexit, but are disappointed with how governments handled it. We met Anton 5 years ago. At the time, he ran a cafe. Born in Morocco, he believed many immigrants were not willing to integrate.
So when you have a families coming here with 3-4 kids, they need to go to school. The schools, we didn't build any new schools in Boston. We are bringing people in, we are squeezing them in because we need them to work, but we are not creating the infrastructure which is to hold all this influx of migrants. And that's what put Boston one of the or probably the highest voting place for Brexit.
He decided to change his life and sold his cafe.
How does it feel to be back?
It's nice, but it's not as nice as it used to be. Café de Paris was special. And I think a lot of Bostonians did enjoy my coffee, my sitting, my atmosphere, my political debates.
Walking around Boston, he is bound to meet a familiar face.
Hello, my dear, how are you? Sorry, Chloe, nice to see you.
Yeah.
Recognize you. How are you?
I'm not
You
too bad,
okay?
actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're doing a
Thank
program
you.
about Brexit after 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people say nothing changed. It's getting worse, probably, as they say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
It's a shame.
well,
What is a shame, madam?
Well, there's nothing here much now for
Yes.
people to come to, is there?
Boston has experienced economic decline for decades and Brexit hasn't helped.
in this side now is for rent. It used to be W.H. Smith and a small post office inside. That building there, it used to be a post office, big one. It has closed after Brexit. And yeah, it's sad to see shops closing down and replaced by charity shops. Well, it is sad because when you look at your town, it's a pretty town, and then you see that businesses are closing and there is nothing in town. Does it make you happy? I'm gonna walk between walls and come back home. I'm gonna go to a park and come back home. what should they do in the town?
Outside a historic building in the city centre lies Antoinetta's Cafe. It remains open thanks to its loyal, mostly Bulgarian customers. For many years, Boston has recorded a high level of immigration, in particular from Eastern Europe. Antoinetta's family arrived from Bulgaria before the Brexit referendum.
Before Brexit, lots of people came to the UK to work and earn money. Everything was easier. There was greater freedom and tolerance. Now it's hard to find work and we're judged for our appearance.
At the back of the cafe, customers can transfer money abroad.
This year has been the worst because lots of people have left because factories and temping agencies have closed. Those that stay can get 1 or 2 days of work a week, so they can't pay their rent anymore. They buy a plane ticket and return home. So many factories have shut down.
Jagana grew up in England just like her cousins, but she is considering moving abroad.
Maybe I should experience more in other towns, maybe other cities. Maybe just Boston is not maybe just Lincolnshire is not my place. But I just feel like we're kind of suffocating here, and the racism is really bad. I have experienced a lot of racism in my schools. In college, I can't say the same. College are really open in England, in my opinion.
Brexit led many Europeans to leave. Last year, 118,000 left the United Kingdom, while only 76,000 Europeans came to live, according to official figures. Meanwhile, around 600,000 non-Europeans immigrated into the UK. Some settled to work in farms like Nick's. He grew up in this rural area now south of Boston. The All Press have been farming here for 4 generations.
It's extraordinary that nearly half of farmers, if not 60% of farmers, apparently voted for Brexit. A lot of my friends thought Brexit was the best thing ever. They thought we should stand alone, do our own thing. I argue quite strongly with them, and you know, some people I don't see anymore because of it. You know, it's quite emotional. UK agriculture at the moment is in a bad place. Economically, most farms are budgeting for a loss. This year, our government has stopped most of the financial support through subsidies that we had when we were in the European Union. They promised, as part of Brexit, that those would carry on and we would have our own schemes, but actually our subsidies have been reduced by nearly 80%.
He grows mostly leeks and employs 130 people, including this Latvian truck driver.
How long have you been with us?
16 years now, so yeah.
Yeah.
It's been 16 years. That is my first job. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Now Europeans like him are being replaced.
The Kenyans are great. They're religious. They're really hard-working. They're polite. The English workers don't want to do this. They certainly don't want to do this. That boat's gone. That's sailed. They get paid the minimum wage, the same as an English worker. So they'll be earning £400 a week, at least. We've had workers from Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, all the stans on the Russian and Chinese border. They're very different workers to these guys. Yeah, it's a shame when we're not having Europeans like we used to have.
London signed agreements with non-EU countries to bring in seasonal workers. These Kenyans are students in agriculture recruited by an agency to come work for 6 months in the UK.
The interview is not easy because many people did not get this opportunity. This is an opportunity because we don't even have this kind of machines in Kenya. We don't have them. So here we get to learn more, we get to get experience. Yes.
I make about 25 times more. on another thing. I want to go back to Kenya and start a small farm.
Nick sells his leeks across the country, but has faced difficulties with imports.
I think the UK needs to... These are leeks grown in Holland. These are baby leeks, really. And we plant them out, and these will be ready in about 6 months' time for harvest. Sometimes, but happened quite a lot early days, that we lost seed. It just got lost in the system with customs. It's just more difficult to products come from the EU to the UK.
Nick voted to remain, and Anton to leave the European Union. They are now both sceptical of pro-Brexit politicians like Nigel Farage. He was the face of the Leave campaign and personally convinced Anton to join him in the battle. His party Reform UK is currently leading in the polls. An increasingly popular figure we met 5 years ago.
The war is over.
Farage had taken a break from politics and anchored a TV show.
Brexit is about self-government. It's about actually being in control of the laws that affect the way people live and businesses run in this country. Brexit doesn't guarantee success. We can still make a mess of it ourselves, but we have the ability to do things right and to do things better.
Brexit triggered political instability with 6 different prime ministers. Anton has distanced himself from his former mentor.
I regret trusting Nigel Farage because I used to be a member of UKIP and I used to campaign for Brexit on like a weekly basis in the market, and I used to talk to people. I was against open borders. I was against having one common law. I was against having one army. I was against a lot of things, but unfortunately it has backfired.
A recent poll shows 57% of British people believe Brexit was a mistake.
Good morning, young man.
But not Kenneth, a friend of Anton's who runs a typical English cafe.
With Brexit, we should be more integrated with the EU as well from a trading point of view. If push comes to shove, we've got Cornish brie, and we can also make good quality sparkling wines. So we could have our champagne if we wanted it. Can you make an all-day breakfast, please? White bread. Okay. Thank you. There you go, Anton.
Brexit has dominated conversations for a decade.
Bacon and sausage. How was your breakfast? I did say breakfast, not Brexit.
My Brexit is not going well. Oh, Brexit. I think each time we talk about Brexit, you know, it becomes sensitive.
Kenneth wants the government to get on with Brexit and sees Reform UK as the solution.
Just look at what the political animals are doing at the moment. They're making a mess of it. They're making an absolute mess of it. We need people that have run businesses, that have made deals, that know how to talk to the customer, and they understand what people need and want.
He is working the following day. Otherwise, he would have liked to attend a march in London. Tens of thousands travelled from all over the country to call for less immigration and the protection of British identity.
Proud to be British.
A show of force organised by the far right.
The British people aren't being looked after by the government. We're second-class citizens in our own country.
Is your country under threat?
I believe it is, yeah.
Invasion. It's not a threat. Invasion.
Invasion from who?
You know who. Don't ask stupid questions. Come on now. That's a stupid question.
But no, refugees coming from France, which is a safe country.
English nationalism has surged since Brexit. A number of protesters claim they are on a crusade to save the country.
Well, what are you doing?
For them, the only way to remain strong and independent was to leave Europe.
The thing is with Brexit, we were promised there's a lot of false promises. So we were promised it would deal with immigration, we were promised that it would deal with the immigration housing problems, a lot of things, and it hasn't worked. And so the problem is as well, you've got a government in power who are very much pro-Europe, so they're pulling us back towards Europe and not actually giving us what we voted for, and that's the issue.
The rally ends outside Parliament. The Labour government promised to reset relations with the EU for trade and defence. The UK also recently rejoined the Erasmus student exchange scheme. Meghan spent part of her university studies in France and thought she would one day live in Europe again. During her lunch break, she scrolls job ads.
Candidates must have the right to work in Belgium. Please note that somebody is not able to provide working permits. And that's basically at the bottom of like every single, like almost all.
Brexit made things harder for her.
You know, you get to that final stage and you basically get told, you know, we're not motivated to do the visa. It's much quicker and easier to onboard maybe a candidate of the same level, but who, you know, can just start next week because they don't need to go through what can be like a really lengthy and onerous visa process. I have countless friends who are eager to work in the EU and are now kind of shut out of the system.
At the time of the referendum, Meghan tried to convince relatives to vote Remain.
Typically, it was largely the older generation that voted to leave, including my parents, who I love, but they voted for Brexit. And I think that's just really difficult for young people in the country. It's sort of divided families. I think we all felt like we were screaming, this is going to have massive implications for everyone, economically, socially, but especially for the young people that follow. And it just wasn't really heard, and now we're kind of like left to deal with the consequences.
While some are calling for closer ties with Europe, others say it would be a betrayal of the people's vote. A decade after the Brexit referendum, the United Kingdom is looking to move on, but is struggling to come together.